Roy is my favorite character in Smash and in Fire Emblem, but as many people have noted, some of his moves may be a bit similar to Marth's, who also shares his moves with two other characters, which has led to a lot of people thinking every Fire Emblem character is Marth. Now, in practice, this couldn't be further from the truth, as Roy is a rushdown character, while Marth is a character that wants to play carefully to keep his opponents at a specific distance. But for more easygoing players, I can see how these differences wouldn't be that noticeable. I'm also a bit disappointed by his current moveset since they don't really pull from his source material all that much. The same goes for like every Fire Emblem character except Robin and Corrin, but this video is just going to focus on Roy. However, I'm not just going to update his moves willy-nilly, I'm going to try to maintain what makes Roy fun, that being a fast and hard-hitting rushdown character. But of course, before we begin, remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you like what you see. It really helps out my growing channel, and I would really appreciate it. Now, let's begin. First, let's start off with his special moves. The first move I would adjust is his neutral special, that being the Flare Blade. This move is mostly used for edge trapping and punishing shield breaks, but the edge trapping aspect can be a bit risky since your opponent can edge attack while charging. The move would remain mostly the same, but the animation would be changed to Roy holding the sword above his head while charging to match his animations from Binding Blade, and the blade would slowly ignite more and more as the charge continues, to indicate how charged it is. The actual gameplay change would come from adding a projectile to the move. In Binding Blade, Roy can attack from a distance to blow up his opponents with fire, an aspect that's completely missing from his Smash appearance. Of course, giving a projectile to a rushdown character that already has a moveset comprised of exclusively disjoints would be kinda stupid, which is why we're tying it to Flare Blade. The projectile would only come out if the move was mostly charged, and once you stopped charging it, not only would the blade drop like it usually does, an explosion would be created a set distance away from Roy that could hit people grabbing the edge. This would prevent a speedy rushdown character from having access to a quick projectile, while still having more of his moves from his source material. This would make his edge trapping game less risky, but in my opinion it would still be mostly fair since Roy's edge guarding game is pretty mediocre, thanks to his fast falling speed and bad recovery, so I don't think this would change his balance too much, but it would make fully charged Flare Blades much more satisfying. Next, I would just completely replace Counter because he only has one due to being a Fire Emblem character TM, and it doesn't really fit a playstyle like this.
Those were... because you had to play differently.
Yeah, of course.
Way different.
That's so strong.
Good God.
A much more fitting move for this slot would be a lunge like he does in his regular critical hit, where he lunges forward at a higher speed than he runs. This could allow him to mix up his approach options, and could even be used as a retreat if need be. Of course, a move that allows an already extremely fast and deadly character to immediately go faster with a traveling hitbox would need a downside, and luckily I think the hilt mechanic already works as one. Since he's lunging forward, if it hit an enemy, the tip of the sword would obviously hit them first, meaning of course that the hit would be weak. The hilt of the blade could probably only hit the opponent if they were standing right in front of Roy as he used it, or if the opponent spot dodges in an attempt to avoid the initial hit. My goal for this move is to make it weak in most offensive situations, but very satisfying when it does hit, just like his counter already functions, but of course this move would fit with his playstyle much more. Since this move would be based off a crit animation, when you do connect with the hilt of the sword, the critical hit sound effect from the GBA games would also play, adding to the satisfaction of the move. For his side special Rekka move, it's incredibly useful as is, and his moveset just wouldn't be the same without it. At most, I would just make an aesthetic change, where since the down option ends with several consecutive stabs, he could use the Brave Sword for it instead, still use the Binding Blade for the neutral route, and he could use Durandal for the up option. This wouldn't change the move mechanically, but it would add more visual flair for those who pay attention. As for his up special, I would just keep it the same as it is now, since, Roy never actually travels upwards in Binding Blade, and creative liberties are taken for most characters that never travel upwards. Plus, a Flaming Dragon Punch is super cool. As for his smash attacks, I would keep forward smash the same, since as of Smash 4, its animation was updated to be different from Marth's, and killing people at 30% off of a hard read is far too iconic to get rid of. His down and up smash could use some more flavor though, as they're practically the same as Marth and Lucina's smash attacks, with some added fire effects. I would completely change his up smash, since I already gave his upward sword stance to his neutral B. Instead, I would take from the Berserker's crit animation. Maybe he could just throw up the Binding Blade, and while it's just spinning there, it damages anything nearby, being particularly deadly if you're near the center of its rotation, which would be a new addition to Roy's original up smash, since that move completely lacks the hilt mechanic. Now, I know this is taking from a completely different class that Roy is not a part of, but other characters have repped moves from their games that they can't use, like Ness using PK Fire. and it's one of the most badass animations from the GBA saga of games, which no other FE character would have access to since Roy is the only GBA FE character in the game. So it'd be something cool for him to have. As for his down smash, he could use after image clones to strike both sides at once, like how Sword Masters also create after image clones in their crit animations in the GBA games. Again, while Roy can't personally do this, it'd be some extra flair to separate him from the other Fire Emblem characters, while also representing an iconic animation from the GBA games. As for his normals and air normals, I don't really think there's too much you can actually do here, as they're all sword pokes or slashes, and if you check Roy's home game, then, yep, that's certainly what Roy does. The most you could do is probably make some of them match some of his new Fire Emblem Heroes animations, since I already referenced a lot of his GBA animations in his other moves. As for his grabs, again, Roy isn't really known for picking people up and, chucking them into the air. What I think would be a funny little addition, though, is maybe adding the menu from Binding Blade while they're being grabbed, and when you actually throw them, the drop command is selected and the sound effect is played. It would be a funny little bit of disrespect when you throw people with Roy, and just do a little bit more to make it feel like he's actually from Binding Blade. This wouldn't be the first time they've done cheeky little things with grabs either, like how Kazuya's grabs use unique camera angles to reference Tekken. Now his final smash is where things get really interesting. Currently it's just a critical hit, which is extremely boring, since crits are just a part of Hero's base moveset, and we've already incorporated his crit animations into his other moves. So I have something a bit more original in mind. In the Binding Blade lore, there's an event called the Ending Winter, where, as the powerful legendary weapons clashed with the powerful dragons, the rules of nature began to bend, as snow fell during the summer and stars were visible during the day. So, my idea for the final smash is to summon random party members, with Idun and Faye being there as dragon representatives, like how Shulk does during his final smash, with them all using legendary weapons, filling the screen with a blizzard that clashes with Roy's fire, which ends with a big ice storm explosion. Now that, I think, would be pretty cool. Or, if you want to make things less complicated, you could just have it be his new attack from Engage. That works too. I mean, it works as a final smash, it'd be a lot more boring, but I don't think Sakurai wants to make a 3D model of Gonzalez holding the Armad, so, maybe that's just the more practical option. So, that's my idea for Roy's updated moveset in Smash that also maintains the spirit of his original playstyle. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if this one does well, I may do some for some other Fire Emblem characters too. Also, if you want to play as a Fire Emblem character in Smash with a moveset made by me, I made a Mathis mod for Rivals of Aether a few years ago. You're welcome, Society! With all that being said, remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you liked what you saw. And most importantly, remember to have a nice day. Bye-bye.